Strange Brew, 1983, is one of the weirdest, most lovable comedies you'll ever stumble across. A classic from the early 80s that manages to parody Shakespeare, make fun of beer ads, and go full-on sci-fi all in under 90 minutes. If you've never seen it, or just want a refresher, here's the lowdown. Basically, Strange Brew takes those Great White North SCTV skits, where Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas play Bob and Doug McKenzie, two doofus Canadian brothers who live for beer, hockey, back bacon, and basically saying every other word, and takes them on a totally bonkers movie adventure. Here's the gist. After trying to scam their way into free beer by jamming a mouse in a bottle, Bob and Doug get jobs at Elsinore Brewery. That's when they accidentally stumble into a crazy mind control scheme run by a mad brewmaster, with a haunted brewery thrown in for good measure. Yeah, it's as ridiculous as it sounds, and that's 100% the point. Wait, it's Hamlet. Sort of. Believe it or not, the whole movie is a Shakespeare spoof. Seriously. Elsinore Brewery stands in for Elsinore Castle. Pam Elsinore is basically Ophelia. Brewmeister Smith, Claudius, the ghost of Pam's dad. Yeah, Hamlet's dad, Bob and Doug. Imagine Rosencrantz and Guildenstern if they drank way more Molson. That extra layer turns what could have been just a bunch of random skits into a weirdly clever story. It's part goofy slapstick, part gothic drama, all played for laughs. Get this, legendary Swedish actor Max von Sydow, The Exorcist, The Seventh Seal, all those serious classics, plays the evil Brewmeister Smith. And he's not phoning it in. Von Sydow treats this ridiculous spoof like he's in Hamlet itself, ramping up the drama while everyone else is basically doing Looney Tunes. He even said later it was the most fun he'd ever had making a movie. Originally, the plan was to make a big Bob and Doug Save the World flick, but the studio wanted something simpler. So Moranis and Thomas thought, hey, how about Hamlet but in a brewery? They shot the thing in Toronto and Scarborough, with a lot of the indoor shots at the de Havilland plant. Oh, and this was Moranis' first time directing. The soundtrack is pure 80s, with Charles Fox, the guy behind the Love Boat theme, going nuts on the synths. Mix that with a bunch of zany sound effects and cameos, there's a flying ghost and a hockey showdown. And you've got a movie that feels like a live-action cartoon. How was it received? When it opened, Strange Brew didn't exactly set the box office on fire, 8.5 million in North America. Critics were kind of meh. Roger Ebert called it a genial but uneven comedy. The New York Times said it felt like a skit stretched too far. But then it hit VHS and cable, and suddenly everyone who watched late-night comedy fell hard for it. Now, it gets talked about in the same breath as Spinal Tap and UHF, as one of the great cult comedies of the 80s. Strange Brew made Bob and Doug McKenzie full-on Canadian icons. They even got the Order of Canada in 2017. Take off, eh? And beauty, eh? Became catchphrases everywhere. Plus, shows like The Simpsons, South Park and Trailer Park Boys have all tipped their hats to the McKenzie bros. There was even a Bob and Doug cartoon series in 2009. Here's the thing, Strange Brew walks a perfect line between dumb jokes and clever satire, all while showing real affection for working-class Canada. One minute you're laughing at a dumb burp gag, the next you're catching a Shakespeare nod. It honestly feels like a movie that shouldn't exist, but we're all better for it. Strange Brew isn't just another silly 80s movie, it's a snapshot of a bizarre, brilliant era in comedy. A time when a couple of guys in toques could take over Hollywood, poke fun at Canada, Shakespeare, and sci-fi, and somehow make comedy history. If you're digging into 80s movies, this one's right up there with Airplane, Ghostbusters, and Spinal Tap in the Comedy Hall of Fame. Subscribe to Movies of the 80s for more totally radical movie nostalgia, eh?